Hello everyone. Today we'll talk about stating preferences. So this is a topic for the discussions on week 4. So first is the topic is the asking preferences. So here we have some examples of expressions to use to ask for another person's preferences. So some expressions you might use include, for example, which do you prefer, football or volleyball? Which do you like better, tea or coffee? Which do you like? Do you prefer hot coffee or iced coffee? Would you prefer to go for a walk or see a movie? Would you rather have dinner with me, and so on? So you can use some expressions, preferably using prefer, or you can use other thing like, or you can even say like coffee or tea. That's also asking for preference. So it really depends on the context, whether this is formal or informal. The more formal, usually the longer your expression will be. So whether, for example, if you use would you prefer to go for a walk or see a movie, is considered more polite than going for a walk or seeing a movie, something like that. Or do you like going for a walk or seeing a movie? So the longer, it tends to be perceived as a more polite one. And to express your own preference when somebody asks you or asks your opinion, you could use a simple one like prefer. You could use longer versions like would rather go, I would rather stay, and so on. So there are so many expressions to do this. In practice, you already understand on how you express your preference. But here we also will discuss some expressions which are commonly used to express someone's preference. So we have many structures to express preference, but I would like to point out on the first 4 expressions, and you can add other things as well. So the first one include prefer noun phrase to noun phrase. Oh, coming back again. So there are 2 structure which include prefer plus noun phrase using noun phrase, number 1 and number 5. And the other 3 structures use verb as a base. So for the first one, prefer noun phrase to noun phrase. It is usually used to when you like something more than something else. So the examples include, I prefer ginger to green tea. So you prefer, then you put noun phrase to noun phrase. I prefer pasta to noodles. I prefer dancing to singing. I prefer watching videos to playing computer games, and so on. The second structure is would plus infinitive. This is usually to describe present and future preferences, not the past one, because we have would plus infinitive here. So what we call by infinitive, the infinitive is the 2 plus verb base, usually the verb base, 2 combinations of 2 plus verb base. The verb base is a verb which is the main uh, form of that verb, not the verb 1, verb 2, or verb 3, but the main form of that verb. So you usually find it in dictionary. So that's infinitive. So I would prefer to go to Bangkok. And you can also contract this form into I'd prefer to go to Bangkok. So you see here, after you put prefer to go. If you use noun, you do not need to put to. I prefer going to Bangkok, and so on. The negative one, to use negative one, you need to put not, but then it's not before the prefer, but after prefer. So instead of I would not prefer, it is the correct one is I prefer not to come early, and so on. The question will be, would you prefer to come early? The negative question will be, would you prefer not to come early, and so on. Next is would prefer plus infinitive plus rather than plus verb base. So it is would prefer, the infinitive, to go, and then rather than, and then after that the verb base without to. So the first one is infinitive and the second one is without to. So this is usually used when you want to do one thing more than another thing. So this is specifically for activities. I would prefer to go to Bangkok rather than go in Phuket. So you see here, the first one is to go. This is the infinitive. And the second one is just go. This is the verb base, which is appear or which you can see in dictionaries. So I would prefer to go to Bangkok. I would prefer followed by infinitive to go, and to Bangkok is the objects or complement, rather than go. The next go is verb base in Phuket. I'd rather to stay home rather than get wet in the rain. So if you have the positive form, I would prefer him to stay home. The negative form would be, I would prefer him not to stay home. You see here, you put not before to stay home, before the to infinitive, rather than you put it after would not. So it's different structure. It's not like, it's not it's the same with future past, with the past future tenses. The question form would be, would you prefer him to stay home? You'd put would in the beginning. Would you prefer him to stay home? If you want to construct a negative question, it would be like, would you prefer him not to stay home? So the fourth form is would rather plus verb. I would rather drink mineral water. So here you just put the first part and you don't put the second part, the preference. So I would rather drink mineral water, or if I have a choice, I would rather eat a sandwich. So it is would rather plus verb one here. I would rather drink, or you can use a verb base here. Sorry, you don't put s. I would rather drink mineral water. I would rather eat a sandwich. I would rather go in the middle of night, and so on. So what about the mistakes? A person who never made a mistake, never tried anything new. It's common for us to make some mistakes in making preferences, expressing our preferences. Three most common mistakes include, for example, I would prefer sleep. It's incorrect because when you put prefer, you can put a noun immediately after prefer, but with verb, you need to put to infinitive here. I would prefer to sleep rather than to eat, something like that. I prefer yogurt than milk is incorrect because you do not put prefer and then. So the structure is prefer blah 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 noun phrase to noun phrase. So it would be correct to say I prefer yogurt to milk. I prefer to stay home than get wet in the rain. You could put rather than, you could put rather than too, but then that's quite specific to verb only. I prefer to stay home than get wet in the rain is incorrect. You need to put I would prefer to stay home rather than get wet in the rain. So you could put rather than here, rather than just than. So you can put rather than instead of than here. And you can also put the same thing for uh, noun. For example, like I prefer to drink yogurt rather than milk. So that's also acceptable. But then I would prefer to drink, I would prefer yogurt rather than milk is incorrect. So the next activity is a speaking exercise. This activity is inspired by a TikTok challenge I found in YouTube. This is a TikTok challenge, the preference challenge. So the task is inspired by a TikTok challenge. You can check a video example here. This is the link I will put in the descriptions as well. And we will make a simpler versions of this challenge. So you need to pick 4 topics. I prepare 10 topics. You will see the list in the next slides. And I want you to make a video or audio recording. It can be video or audio recording stating your preference. Pick 4 topics of 10 topics of that, and then choose 4 and make a video or audio recording stating your preferences. And then you give an example of situations for each topics. So, and I want you to make it concise. So it should be very short one, because I want to make this an activity as your impromptu speaking practice. And it's not to add your extra burden, but as your speaking practice. So just practice, just a short practice one. 1 minute audio or video recording. And you are expected to use structures in this video, which we have discussed before. Try to use different structures, the more polite one, the longer one, the shorter one, and then try to challenge your ability in speaking English and use structures, various structures in expressing your preference. The assessment points for this task is your completions of the task, whether your task is submitted in time, whether this is based on the criteria, including picking 4 topics, stating your preferences, and giving examples of situations. The second one is the content or arguments of your audio or video. So when you, for example, pick a topic as shown here, we have 10 topics here. Whether, for example, like you prefer to have no makeup to makeup. So for example, that one, you give example in what situations you prefer no makeup rather than makeup. And then you give just your reasons very briefly. For example, next, you prefer TikTok to Instagram because blah, 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 blah. You prefer going out or staying in and blah, 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 blah. You can use example of that TikTok challenge. You can do it that way, but make sure, because this is speaking practice, you practice your speaking. And second one, make it simple. Don't put too much. I don't want to put too much burden on you doing this work. So this is just a simple exercise on stating preferences. So you can pick any of these topics, and then you upload your recording to our YouTube channel or our audio channel, anchor.com, and then paste the link of that video into our SIPEJAR so I can check your video easily. In addition, if it's possible, just put the descriptions with your name, your full name, or the last 3 digits of your name. So that's enough for me. Or you can even put your full name over there so I can easily find you. That's all, I think. Thank you so much, and enjoy your day, and have a good day. Thank you so much.